Welcome back, everybody, to the Breakthrough Moment podcast, where we interview successful entrepreneurs and investors and ask them what is their biggest breakthrough throughout their career that changed everything for them. And as they share their breakthroughs with us at home have breakthroughs as well. I'm Zach Deane with special guest Lucy Kough over in Sydney. How are you? Are you there?
Hi, yes, I'm well, thank you, Zach. And yeah, great to chat with you and the listeners today.
It's been a long time in the making. We finally made it work. And thank you so much for your time. I'm pumped to jump into this. Let me do a quick introduction for you and we'll dive straight into your breakthrough. So everyone at home who doesn't know Lucy, Lucy is a creative director who's turned founder. Her mission is amazing. Her mission is to close the wealth gap for women. Now, after a career in advertising, shaping brands and changing behavior, she now leads Tap the Gap in Sydney, combining creativity, simplicity, and humanity to drive real impact. She's been a part of Blackbird Giants 24 and SB Evolve 24 for entrepreneurs and founders. And she believes kindness is the strength, is our superpower, and collaboration truly makes the biggest change. So welcome to the podcast. And what is it? What has been your biggest breakthrough moment or moments? Take us into that journey. I'm so curious.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the kind intro. Look, I think for me, I've been on this journey for a little while. It feels longer, probably around 18 months. And at the end of last year, I had got to the point where I'm like, am I really doing this thing? Is it really going to work? What's happening? And ultimately, just before the end of the year, just before I was about to launch the product finally, I was nominated and was named the Vogue Future Innovator of the Year 2025 in Australia. So this is Vogue Australia magazine, who obviously is a huge supporter of the fashion industry, drives trends, really defines how people choose their products and drives conversation within both fashion and innovation and what women are talking about. So to be named that and to win their grant, which I did, was an incredible breakthrough for me. I still remember the morning that I found out, which was really done in a bit of a Hollywood kind of way, actually. So the process was that in mid-October or early October, you had to apply with a video about your business and talk about it and why it was innovative, why it was sustainable, talk to them about your business model and how you were going to create impact, because it was all about creating impact. So I did that. I put it together. I remember it was, I took all day to do it. And of course, in true Lucy style, it's all lastminute.com because, that's advertising. We work with our deadlines. So I sent that off. And the next Wednesday, I got the, news that I was like a finalist. Like, it happened really quick. These people don't muck around. I remember I was there with one of my colleagues, Claire, and it came through and we were dealing with one other problem. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be a finalist. And I thought, imagine if I got through and I got my photo taken for Vogue. And she came and looked over my shoulder and she's like, you are getting your photo taken and you're going to be in Vogue, because that's what they did for all the finalists. So there were 5 entrepreneurs chosen. And that in itself was just crazy nuts, right? Like, I thought this is, the pinnacle of influence in Australia in terms of fashion and women's worlds. And I was lucky enough to go along. So I did that, had the shoot and, got to try on some amazing clothes with the stylists and, had a really great time doing it. And, just the interest, even from talking to the team there, who are just all so amazing at what they do. They really loved listening to my story and hearing about why I was building Tap the Gap and the lived experience I've had with, my mum, who, was a primary school teacher, and she retired with no superannuation after she separated with my dad. So that human experience of knowing what financial insecurity feels like was it really does strike a chord with people, and they really connected to that to that moment. Anyway, so I'm there and I get the photo shoot done, and, I'm having to lean on props like I'm some kind of pro in these Gucci heels, and it was pretty hilarious. And I'm like, oh, okay, is this okay? Is this okay? And the photographer, Duncan, was amazing. Anyway, did that and thought, you know what? Whatever happens, and I get maybe I'll get like a tiny little picture like this in the magazine, and that'll be great. It'll be great exposure and something great to talk about. So I went away and we'd done a little pitch beforehand as well. We'd presented to the panel there at Vogue in terms of our overall business, and I'd worked on that with my advisor and just walked away. Anyway, no word from them, no email. Then I just remember reading, the winner will be announced in the December issue of Vogue. So essentially, I'm like, oh, okay, well, does that mean it comes out on the 1st of December? All right. Well, so on the 1st of December, I'm dropping my daughter to school, and I think, okay, maybe I'll just swing past the newsagent and see what's happening here. So I go in, and the lovely little man in this newsagent in my corner of the world in Sydney on the north side was unpacking some magazines. And I asked him, do you have any new Vogues? And he said, I'm not sure. So I said, okay, could you please check? Anyway, it was this very long, drawn-out moment, almost like, that scene in Love Actually where Mr. Bean is like, wrapping the present for the guy he's buying it for his mistress anyway, and he's like, putting flowers in and taking so long. This was that moment. Finally, he unwrapped it, counted it, put it in front of me, and I flipped to the thing. I thought, in that moment, I thought, you know what? They might have just cut me from editorial. Like, this is probably just nothing. You know what? Don't be disappointed. This is magazines. They're pretty ruthless. And I turned the page, and there I was, like the full page, and it said winner under my name. And anyway, I just started shaking, and I said to the guy, it's me. It's me. And he just looked at me, did not care a thing, did not. And, bless him. But he's like, okay, that's nice. That'll be. And he, made me pay for the magazine. Anyway, I called my husband, I called my daughter, and, there were screams in the car and everything. And look, I think it was just that moment that wasn't essentially just about winning the competition, right? It wasn't just about, yes, I'm in a magazine and isn't that great? It really was the validation for all the hard work that I'd been doing, my team's been doing for nearly 18 months to get this thing moving and out there, and the hundreds and hundreds of hours of conversations we've had with women to build this product in a way that's going to make sense and is actually going to help solve the problem of women retiring with less. So that was that pivotal moment. And sorry, that was a long version of the story, but it was really exciting, and it really made me think, okay, this is something, and it's going to work, and I have to make it work now. Because, Vogue says so.
Wow. What a cool story. Thanks for taking us into those moments. Yeah, that seems like it was a brand new experience that had the best ending ever. So congratulations. That's all so great. I was in it. I was like, what page is it? Oh my God. Obviously you did something well. What did you do well within that process? Or what advice do you have for other people entering competitions or preparing themselves, or what's going through their mind? Do you have any kind of words of advice for anyone else who's putting themselves into these competitions?
Real quick, before we continue, a brief message from today's sponsor. If you're an entrepreneur wanting to grow your personal brand, authority, and business through podcasting, then check out findapodcast.io. As you know, the biggest entrepreneurs in the world, they book these massive podcast tours before a big product launch or an event or book, because podcasts build trust faster than anything else online today. So it's findapodcast.io. It helps you connect with a specific podcast in your niche. It writes the pitch. It follows up in this easy CRM. It truly does save time. So you just show up, do the podcast, and your business grows. If you're curious to learn more, book in a demo at findapodcast.io. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Yeah, look, I think the best thing is to be in it, to actually give yourself that shot. I remember entering thinking, you know what, I'm not at the right stage yet. I haven't, I was waiting for my Australian financial services license to come through. I hadn't launched. You always think that you're not doing enough. And I think the thing is, if you focus on your story and that traction and what you're gaining, and you know your business inside out and speak from a place of authenticity when you present your idea, then people can see that. That's probably what I would say is just put yourself in. And you know what? I've entered plenty of other competitions and other grants and, haven't got the yes, but you really just do your research as well. I had done my research. I'd really thoroughly read the criteria. I'd worked with my advisors in the background to go, well, I've only got a couple of minutes to tell my story. What do I need to focus on to make sure that that lands with this audience? And and that kind of paid off. And just doing it, I think, with heart and, great intention to learn from it. So that's really all I ever want to do when I enter these things is I'm putting myself out there. It may go my way, it may not, but I want to learn, because if someone says, oh, actually, that's not interesting to us for this reason, that's a great outcome for me, because you're learning something about that audience and you might decide, well, it's not right for that audience, or actually, I hadn't thought about it that way. So I need to think about that. Does that shift the way I'm changing my message to the audience, or does that shift my actual product? Like what are the implications of that feedback? So I'd say go for it and be really open and see every opportunity as a learning opportunity.
So many pearls of wisdom and like little snippets there of this. It's so relevant what you just shared is like what that saying of like how we do anything is how we do everything. Now I don't know if I believe that all the time, because how I do one thing isn't always how I do everything, but a lot of the time it's how I show up. But it sounds like you're a super high achiever. You've got great people in your corner. You're showing up authentically, but at the same time you had your own inhibitions or your own mental programs of like, is this going to work? Is this not? No, I just go for it. And I think the hardest part for most people is one, showing up authentically. What are they going to think of me? Like, how is this going to happen? What if this doesn't work? Is typically what goes through people's minds. But it's like, what if it does work? What can I learn from this? What, even if I don't get through, like, I'm just going to do my best, and it's really looks like you had a growth mindset within that. But one of the key points that you shared is just putting yourself out there. And I think that is such a hard thing for most people, especially getting into entrepreneurship in the beginning. We've all got the next breakthrough that we're working on, right? But do you have any advice for anyone else out there who's maybe feeling like they're taking the back seat? Maybe they don't have the accountability from advisors. They don't have the accountability from winning a competition, but they're really wanting to put themselves out there. Do you have any tips for them?
Yeah, absolutely. And I can really relate to what you were saying. I don't love, being in front of the camera and doing that. Like I love meeting people. I love talking and presenting, but I think in terms of putting myself personally out there, that's something I've had to work on. And really felt like I only sort of did it at the time when it felt natural to me. So I think you can trust your instincts again to that authenticity to say, well, this is who I am at the part in my business journey right now. And I'm going to be true to that. But every little step you take will build that confidence. So if you don't have a big team around you, that's fine. And I didn't for a little while. But really, I would say just start those small steps rather than taking a seat, a step back or feeling overwhelmed. Oh my gosh, there's all these things I need to do. The thing that I asked myself, and it was my resolution last year, was what is it today that's going to move me forward? And then I would just go, yeah, here's the thing I can do. I'm like, is that going to move me forward? As in, is it going to teach me something that's really important? Am I going to get something tangible done? And therefore, if not, if I couldn't answer that question right away, I would not do it. So there's a bit of experimenting that would go on in that. But then you've really got to experiment. You've got to go, okay, I'm talking to someone today about this aspect. And you might go, you know what? I'm probably never going to speak to that person again, but they might connect me with someone else. And there might be a tiny, tiny little bit of info in what they've said that, my walls generally, you can't see it behind me here, but there's a lot of sticky notes going on. And yep, I've got all my systems on the computer, but I'm also I think it's that creative mindset. When you think about something, you just write it down, and do that and kind of put it into your flow process. So yeah, I think you've just got to show up every day doing the things that feel most natural to you. And don't worry if you get it wrong or you go down a little bit of a rabbit hole and it doesn't go somewhere, because then tick that off your list and go, actually, that's not where I need to go. My users don't really care about that, or that feels a bit too complex, like come back to the simplicity of the problem you're trying to solve for, who you're solving it for, and what's the connection of the product, in between those two.
So good. So good to hear that. I couldn't agree more. I think it really sounds like you had a different frame of looking at it rather than like, what if this doesn't work? It's more like, what if it does work? Is a big difference. And it's a skill. It's a muscle. It's a mental muscle that you've
It is a
practiced day
muscle.
in, day out. And
Yeah.
one of my acting coaches said to me many years ago, is, do the real thing like it's practice, and do practice like it's the real thing. So it's like coming at it like,
Yeah.
just practice. And just, if you get it wrong, you get it wrong. It's practice. Even if it's the real thing, like, just practice. And I think,
Yeah. That's so
someone
true.
else also said, just do this take or jump into this like you're gonna stuff it up. Just plan to stuff it up and be yourself
Yeah.
and just it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's
I
that
think you're
energy
right.
of like, let go and just let God, or let's like just stop making it being it as this.
Have fun, right? Like, I think, like, one of my
Exactly.
mentors, we
Exactly.
were chatting the other week and, working on my goals for the year. And, one of my values is, like, my personal values amongst all the ones you'd probably expect, is find the fun, like, and that's I try to find the fun in doing like 7 loads of laundry or something. So I'll just put on some music and, like, there's stuff you hate doing. And I think I do get that, from my mum, who would always go, sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do. And I'm like, yeah, like, as a kid or a teenager, I feel like, half of your life is that and the other half is having fun. But it does instill, I guess, that discipline of doing the harder things and trying to see your way out the other side. Because in a business, running a business, there's definitely aspects of it that aren't as much fun. Having conversations like this is fun, and writing content is fun, and, but really looking at the nuances, with some of those critical tech pieces, or something where I'm not as experienced at. I've had to learn how to do a business model and how to check in with that and be able to tweak that and, feedback on stuff that, I haven't got a whole 20 years of experience, excuse me, doing. So, yeah, but I think you just have to then change that mentality and go, well, this is what I'm in, and I'm very privileged to be able to put myself in this position to create a company and do it, and I've chosen it. So it's a bit about responsibility to go, well, you've chosen to be here and run this thing, so you just got to suck it up, those tricky bits. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff that's not glamorous and not fun, and yeah, but it all comes out in the wash. It's more fun than tricky.
Sure.
Yeah.
And if it was always fun all day, every day, like, if it was literally 100% fun, you'd be like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. And then, if we don't have the contrast of it being challenging, or there's like this space of maybe boredom, we wouldn't appreciate the fun as well, right? And we're going to kind of have the rainbow of spectrum of this life. But I really like that. I'm definitely going to write that down. That's a put on a t-shirt, a hat thing. Find the fun. I think that's brilliant. My question to you is, like, knowing what you know now, right? You've gone
Yep.
through, you've gone through this experience, and now, as you said before, it's like it gave you more, um, like, belief or like accountability to, like, oh gosh,
Yeah.
I gotta show up now. Like, knowing what you know now, if you could go back to the beginning of your journey, what would you say to yourself? What would you do differently, so to speak, with the knowing that you have now around that?
Yeah. I think being a little bit bolder, or a bit, louder earlier on. I think it took me a while to get to that and really feel proud and stand in, hey, this is what I'm doing and it does really matter. And I don't care if you don't want to listen, I'm still going to speak at the volume, the volume I'm speaking at. And by that, I mean showing up in social media, showing up at events, speaking about my opinions, and what I'm building. And there's some people who won't agree. I mean, hilarious comment on, my Channel 7 news coverage of a man who said, well, when it's all about the super gap and why women don't retire with enough, it's like, well, maybe they should work a bit harder. But that actually made me feel like, okay, I've landed. Like I've got something that's strong enough for someone else to feel like I need to comment against that. Do you know what I mean? But I think earlier on, I always felt really strongly about what I was doing, but I wasn't as bold about talking about it. And I think you have to have that. Doesn't mean you have to be outspoken and you have to be an extrovert, but you really have to be clear and confident in your point of view and what you're building, because I think that's how you build trust with people. And especially when it comes to money, that's really important. So, yeah. So that's probably something I would have done differently, is just be a little bit louder and more sure of myself, probably. But I guess that comes with time, right? And the more you learn, the more confident you become. For example, I had no idea about how to build software 2 years ago, and I did no code. I learned that. It was really challenging. If you imagine going from, you being in a career where you're pretty much at the top of your game to learning something where you're really bad at it. And it was hard, but it helped me build my confidence in learning about software. And I knew if I was going to run a tech company, I'm not writing all the code, but I have to be able to have those conversations. So coming out the other side of that, I'd built that confidence, and I understand payment technology space, and I understand open banking like I never have before, and all of that, because that's my job now. So I had to rapidly upskill. And I think that confidence comes with putting yourself in uncomfortable places. And confidence isn't like a switch that you just sort of flick on. I think you slowly grow that confidence, and and you'll take a few knocks and come back from it. But I think for starting out founders out there, if you might be technically capable, but there's an aspect to the business that you're not as good at, just reach out and get people to help you. Like, people are amazing if you frame the ask in the right way. And, if people are too busy, they won't be, but there will be people there who want to help you learn. And, you be respectful of their time and ask them for 30 minutes about something really specific that's in their wheelhouse. And you'd just be surprised as to how productive that can be. Yeah.
Interesting. And you mentioned before, like flipping the switch of like, oh, it's sometimes it takes time. It does. It takes time to build the belief and build the faith. But what if we could just wake up and flip the switch of just 100% bold today? It's a choice. It's like, that's
Yeah,
like, it is, it's a mindset. And if you've created it now, there's always going to be another moment in the future, like, and then looking back, and that's just part of this journey. It's such a personal,
it
journey going through
is.
this. Plus, yeah. Pause before we continue. The first way we as entrepreneurs introduce ourselves when we walk into a room, it's our energy, right? People feel that. And secondly, it's our face. How healthy do we look? So for the entrepreneurs out there who care about how they show up, I'd love to share with you personally. I've been utilizing some Korean skincare products now just for over a month, and I had no idea about them up until, even just 2 months ago. But it's by far one of the best investments I've made for my skin. I feel it's literally making me look younger, and it has this like glassy, super fresh look. And so this is the number one exported Korean beauty brand and skincare line in the world. The ingredients are second to none. Even pregnant women can utilize them, because out there's so many products that have toxins in them that really make our face not healthy over a long period of time. And so if you're out there and you want to match the energy that you output with how healthy you look, you can trial these products risk-free for 30 days. If you don't like them, send them back and get all your money back. If you're out there, if you're curious, check out the link below to learn. Let's get back to the episode.
Yeah. And look, I think I'm still doing that, right? Like it's different levels of confidence, but I think surrounding yourself with the right people is really important. And you might not be at the stage where you have advisors. I definitely wasn't, but I surrounded myself with friends and people who believed in what I was doing and, would introduce me to people that would help me with conversations. And that's how you can do it from that early stage. And it's amazing just the energy that you take from being around other founders or being around industry experts. Or I've had some amazing male experts in the fintech industry just be such an amazing support to me and the business. And that's been unreal, because you don't want to be, we're not pigeonholed as in we're not man haters or any of this. We're trying to solve a problem for women that actually benefits the rest of the community, because when women take part in the economy, that benefits everyone. It's billions of dollars that we're wasting here in Australia alone. We're missing out on that productivity and that economy because women they're not, they're not earning enough, they're not ending up with enough, and they're retiring, they're becoming homeless because this system wasn't built for them. So, yeah, I think just being around positive people, and there will be haters out there. I've definitely met some weirdos, I would say, who would go, oh, well, that's not going to work. Oh, well, that's not working. No, I don't think you can do that. There's hundreds of them. But as a founder, you have to have this ridiculous optimism to say it is going to work and I'm going to make it work. And I knew that there was a part of my technology that I had to make work because women are busy, and I wanted to step past all the coupons and codes that where women get, retail discounts, and going, they don't have time for it. I know that they drop off if they see an offer, but they've got to activate a code or copy something over or log into something. And that was just fundamental. And it took me 6 months of asking around and doing more research and speaking to countless people. And one of my mentors in Blackbird Giants was awesome. And, he came back for one of our chats. He goes, I had to do some homework so that I could come back and give you some meaningful inputs here. And yeah, it was one of the things that he said that spurred me on to have another conversation. And then I've, found this technology, which is card links. So essentially you link your card once, and then when you shop with any of our partners, you get a reward gifted into your super. So you just do it once. Women are busy, families are busy, and doing that takes away that friction. Yeah.
So good. It's such a real conversation. And I really hope people listening at home start to believe in you again. If you've
Yeah.
forgotten, start to believe in you. You can do this. Reach out for support. And, we're all on this journey together. We're all just trying to get better every day and do our little bit to move our businesses forward.
Yeah. And
These
I
little
think that's,
conversations that add up.
you're right. I was just going to say, I think the doing is a really big part of it. So, I talk about it's like the PowerPoint syndrome, right? You've got an idea and it's on paper, and anyone can have a great idea, like really. And I've spent my life in coming up with ideas in advertising, but making the doing is actually the hardest part, right? Like we go, oh, I thought of that. I thought of that. I'm like, yeah, but are you doing that? Are you doing that? Like, what are you getting up every day and doing? So I think just that behavior of doing, like, even when you don't know what you're doing, like doing something, the act of that momentum actually helps move you forward, you know? Um, and that's one thing to sort of remember, even if you don't know what to do. Like I do it with writing. I used to always be, if I don't know what to write or how to start, I just start. And I just sort of write a stream of consciousness writing, and it might be 2 pages, but then stuff would start to flow. So I think it's that thing, like going, if you want to get fit, you just start to walk and then you can learn to run and all of that.
And I'd love everyone just to know about the vision of what you're creating. Tap the Gap
Yeah,
is
great.
something that's making some big waves, and It's not slowing down. So take us into that, your vision, who you're helping, what you're working on, and how people can reach out.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So, Tap the Gap is helping women build wealth while they shop. And the reason for that is that this is a global problem that women are retiring with less. All the pension schemes around the world are under pressure, but particularly in Australia, women are retiring around 25 to 28% less super, and they're becoming homeless. They're 8 times more likely to be homeless because of that. And it's not their fault. No one really ever taught them about this in high school or uni or whatever that is. And the systems that we have weren't really created. The superannuation system, particularly in Australia, wasn't created for women. It was created for a single earning male in continuous employment. Now, that's not what work looks like these days. And there are other people that are affected by this problem. People who work for themselves rarely pay super. The self-employed is a huge market and avenue, and the gig economy, is suffering from this as well. But the data is telling us that women here are at risk. So what we're trying to do, and what I learned from working on a super fund in advertising, is that it's the psychology involved in super that really is our biggest barrier, engagement. It's something you think about, oh, that's like tomorrow's problem. It's not happening till I'm 60 or 70. But the solution, the way to have more money in your super, is add tiny amounts extra as early on as possible. And so what we're doing is taking women from this space where they've got high mental load. They might find financial systems a bit overwhelming, or they're a bit scared. They don't quite know how to act. And we're making it really simple. So our technology has 3 aspects to it. One is Roundup Tech. So essentially you connect to open banking, which is a government legislated platform, and you round up like your coffee, for example. You pay $4.50 and 50 cents gets rounded up and goes into your super. The second thing we do is brand bonuses, where anytime you shop with one of our partners with your linked card, you get, it might be 5% back, it might be 3%, it might be a set fee, but you get that money back. You just pay as usual, just like you would in store or online. And that retailer is gifting a loyalty bonus to you. So that money goes straight into your super. And then the third part of the app is micro education. Because what we found after talking to women for so long was that you need the automation because we're busy, but you do need the education so that you understand why it's a problem. And also you want to kind of make a couple of moves for your super, or think about it, where your money's invested. What fund are you with? Is it right for you? You might want to do, a spousal contribution if you're off and your partner's, on maternity leave, for example. There's a couple of little things that you can do that can have a massive effect on your outcome. And so that's what we're doing. We're just trying to give 1 to 2 minute little micro episodes in there of audio content and visual content. It's really easy. And then once you're all hooked up, you just go and live your life. And it's not something that's a heavy burden for you, but you'll start to see that progress tick over. And, we're starting to do events and things. We've got one coming up in Sydney's Northern Beaches next month. So, yeah, we're really here. Our vision is to turn this financial power that women have and make a behavioural shift so that we can close that wealth gap for women down the track. So, yeah, we're really about shifting that behaviour in what's been a traditionally boring and, complex industry.
So important. So important. I'll make sure I
Having
put all
fun
your
while
links.
doing it. Having fun,
That's it. Find the
like
fun. The new slogan. I'll make
that's
sure I
exactly
put
right.
all your links around here. Just before we wrap it up, what would be the
Yes.
challenge if you could? Everyone listening today, what would you want to challenge them to change about their behavior or their mindset or their savings or their finances after listening to this podcast? What would that be?
Yeah. So if you're telling yourself that you're not good at money, that's not right. You are, you can be, and you can take as little as 5 minutes to get something like your super sorted and in great shape. So just tell yourself it is important to me, and yeah, just get involved. You can visit tapthegap.com.au. That'll direct you through to our web app, and there's information there. And if you're interested, just reach out. We're always happy to hear from everyone.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank
Congratulations on all your
you.
success. And
Thank
everyone at
you.
home, who do you know who would benefit from listening to today's podcast? Who's going through something we shared, and you want to help them have a breakthrough today, not tomorrow, not next week. Help them have a breakthrough today. Ask them to listen to this podcast. Lucy, we appreciate you so much. Keep kicking
Thank
goals, and we'll
you.
see you next time. Thank you so
Thanks
much.
so much. Thanks, Zach. It's been a pleasure. Bye.